Okay. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our live webinar. Myself, Rudolph D'Souza, founder and president of MyNation Hope Foundation. MyNation Hope Foundation is India's first and largest men's right organization. We have almost more than 10,000 families registered with us. If anyone want to join us, they can visit https://mynation.net, and we are supporting those who are facing false cases of 498 DV or any family related cases. Please join us on mynation.net. We'll help you and guide you for free. Today we are covering NRI issues and LOC. Uh, Dr. Vikas Singh will take it further. Dr. Vikas Singh, please take this session for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rudolph. Today our speaker is Mr. Ramesh Vardhan. He is a graduate and he is working in IT field for over 16 years. He has a legal litigation since 2005-15, and he is an active member of MyNation and other MRI groups. He is basically from Hyderabad, but now residing in the United Kingdom. He has spent enough long time to develop research in deeper details of LOC. So without wasting further time, I would like to invite Mr. Ramesh Vardhan to present the his presentation on how to handle NRA issue and LOC. Mr. Ramesh.
Thanks, Vikas. Thank you, Rudy, sir. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people who are actually on this call. Yeah, today we will actually discuss the NRI related issues. Mostly we'll focus on the LOC, which is not the line of control, but the lookout circular. Typically, our lookout circular is our line of control, like for the NRIs. So there is a disclaimer here. What we are actually sharing is our knowledge that we have actually gathered over researching from Google and so on. So it's not a legal expertise, but we have actually like gone through this thing on our own, in our own personal life, and we are actually sharing all the personal experiences gathered from different members of the MyNation group. Yeah, we will actually have a quick agenda go through of this session. This session is typically for 1 hour. We have enough time for question and answers at the end of the session. I want to actually touch on a very high level on the typical matrimonial disputes that happen. We will not go into each and every flavor of the disputes that normally happen, but like most of the time, what's the things that will be actually like a concern for most of the people who are actually residing outside India and suddenly got pulled into legal litigations within India, and they facing problems for different type of things in their like a career, profession, and also on the personal side. So the agenda wise, we'll be covering on like how typical disputes would be actually be in the matrimonial for NRIs. What will be the sort of legal intimidations and the extortions that happen to them. What sort of civil case hassles that they have, and when there are criminal cases, what sort of hassles or the problems that they have. Hassle is like quite a lot of inconvenience. So I'm not completely uh, reducing the pain of having these things like a civil or criminal cases, but still we have to like fight for our rights whenever we are actually like pulled into these battles. I'm like quite strong in that thought process, saying that okay, I'm not going to give up my rights for nothing. I will actually like prepare myself, take the help of all the other members of the groups. There are a lot of MRA associations trying to help us with this thing. MyNation stands with quite selfish thought process where it shares a lot of knowledge without even actually like expecting a penny from us. So with these help, yeah, we actually try to prepare ourselves better for fighting these cases. And yeah, we will actually make them from like a life-threatening problems to a small hassles, and we will fight them out. We will also make life easier for a lot of other people who might be pulled into the same thing in the due course of time. And typically, yeah, I will actually cover on major concerns of travel restrictions or a criminal defaming a person as a biggest criminal, like putting out a red corner notice or a blue corner notice or issuing out a lookout circular. So this will be the agenda for today. We will actually start with the first one. Yeah, so coming to the matrimonial disputes, typically in the NRI's lifestyles, what happens is what most of the time that we have actually found out is there will be a lot of unrealistic expectation from the bride. So I don't know for what reason the woman actually expects that NRI husbands are almost like Elon Musk. Like most of the time, they are actually the ones who run the nations, or they are the ones who are like actually like Ambanis or Tatas of India. So these unrealistic expectations soon turn out into a lot of frustrations. She actually getting into fights all the time. She actually forcing the person to reach to her expectation rather than living in reality. Her expectations of every day is like a luxury holiday would be shattered, because typically when you are actually like living abroad, most of the household items are also need to be done by the person themselves. There are no much domestic helps available here. Yeah, it's actually like a lot different from what we can have even in India. So these things also upset the relationship quite short, like within a short span of time. And the more upset the relation, yeah, we are actually like getting into the phase where it can lead to these legal litigations. So second one is the selfish independence. Yeah, the people who are already here, at least they have a clarity like how the life will be outside India in countries like US, Australia, United Kingdom, Saudi, Dubai, etc. But the more they are selfish in asking for independence, it actually brings the relationships to a strain quite sooner. So there are situations like where wife want to actually move to her workplace in other city for no reason, actually, like if at all, if there are compelling reasons, it can be accepted. But there has been like a lot of instances where we have found out this is the first step that she will be actually trying to take when the relationship is actually already into an upset from her side of point of view. The second thing is like running away from her responsibilities as a partner in the relationship. A partner in the relationship is very important, because if at all, if both the persons or both the partners in a relationship are not trying to nourish the relationship is going to die sooner or later. I would definitely, like at least in the case of most of the people like living abroad, rule out all those silly litigations of asking for 1 lakh rupee dowry and all those things. The most time the issues actually start up with these things. And even as a parent, as like whatever the household chores that they have to actually share, even they're actually like when they are lazy, they don't want somebody to be always nudging them, saying, asking for, oh, can we actually clean up the house today, can we actually, like even for her contribution to the household chores, she is actually not interested. Because yeah, there can be 100 reasons, but I'm actually just trying to focus on what actually causes like an upset relationships. And the other one is decision making. Sometimes they suddenly make quite an unfair decisions. Their decisions would be like, because when they are earning abroad, if at all, if they feel like they had actually had some savings, it could be thousands also, just thousands of rupees. But yeah, again, the money actually brings in a evil thought in her mind. She wants that to be exactly go into her own interests or her parents vested interests. And that's where it actually starts like a bit of domination into the relationship. And if that did not work, and because she's not having enough people to support her thought process abroad, she immediately wants to move to India for good. And then she actually blames husband, because if at all if yeah, the reason is, oh no, actually like we have other commitments and so on, then the wife will be like, no, actually, like you're not earning enough as your friends do, or someone like this is all where they actually want to bring blame into the relation, so that it actually uh, gets rotten up quite quickly. And I don't want to get into much other things. Yeah, we have seen more than hundreds of cases, so there are like a lot of other sort of issues also that happen into the matrimonial disputes, adultery being one, and many other things. But yeah, they're actually quite worse, and I did not even pick them up. I have been like quite diplomatic in actually putting up the matrimonial disputes over here. But to be honest, yeah, there are 100 other reasons. But anyway, what we want to actually mention is, yeah, a matrimonial dispute has actually started. When the dispute has started, yeah, typically the stages how it would be actually going on is, first she would actually complain to her family, and then threatening actually gets started. Hey, you have to actually listen to our daughter, or whatever, like because they feel like they can actually suddenly impose a person to heed to their demands. So she would be actually bringing larger parties into the relation, so there will be too many people who will be complicating the relation. They will be doing an emotional blackmail of separation, could lead to divorce or child alienation, saying that we will take our daughter back with the child to India, and it's up to you whether you come or not. And they finally leave to India. And the next stage is like warnings. They will be warning through a lawyer notice or someone, saying that you have to actually listen to their demands, or else there will be character assassination. Is typically like, yeah, filing cases on you, saying all A, B, C, D. You can actually see the list. I have actually highlighted the list. These are all the IPC sections. Most of you might even not even know what they actually mean, because you might never have done that in your life. But yeah, when you go through that, then you will understand, okay, how much of criminal thought process is there when they want to really call out for a trouble. The next phase is if it did not work, if this did not work, then they will go and complain to the legal cell. So you keep getting calls from NCWs, women's cells, and so on, sometimes even protection officers, and also the station head officer. So that's where it has actually reached to the complaint phase. And from there, it's actually like, if you heed to their demands, probably it might actually resolve it at that point, but it is quite already late into the litigation, I can say. And the next immediate step would be filing an FIR on you. So when this happens, what's the major thing that what we have is sort of criminal and civil cases. For example, if they have actually filed a DV case, which is a quasi-criminal, there is no immediate threat for your stay in outside India. You can actually present your cases, like you can still represent your cases and so on. But yeah, there is no immediate big threat. And other civil cases like CRPC 125 asking for maintenance, or HMA 9 asking for you to join her back, or asking for divorce and so on. The bigger problem is with the criminal cases, where they actually put in these sections of 498A. I think 498A has been known worldwide. Only India is still like not willing to accept it, but the whole world knows, probably at least most of my friends when I discuss over here, as the most evil law that has been ever framed. And then they add to that like a DP 509, 46, 307, 377, all these things, etc. So the concerns wise, once these cases are actually filed up, then you receive summons, and then CRPC 141A for you to actually present over in India. And there will be even sometimes an escalation at your workplace for coercive action, saying that there is actually a case on you and so on. So typically, if we see the stages wise, from threatening, it actually gets into FIR within no time. So for a person actually living abroad, let's actually check out what exactly the civil case wise the hassles could be. So when a DV or a maintenance case or similar ones like a divorce is actually filed, what are the major fears that these persons would have? The first fear is about the court summons. Like when you actually get a court summon, or if at all, if you receive a court summon, what you have to do, what your course of action must be, and so on. Your fear for unexpected travel and further complications, like yeah, oh, I don't actually have enough leaves because I'm already working. I might actually lose my career if I suddenly go for a leave now. Or complications could be, yeah, I will actually now go to India, but will I be allowed back? Because they can actually exaggerate the things, and they can actually go up to file some criminal cases. Yeah, it's all like a lot of complications in there. And the last one is actually like, if you don't really represent yourself, could it lead to an ex parte order? We'll actually come back to these ones one by one. On the first point, on the court summons, our recommendation is you need to receive them only at your current resident address. If you are residing in a country A, then unless and until you actually get a notice in that country A, because you're already like a resident for a longer time, like if you have been there for more than 6 months in an year, more than 180 days, you are actually considered as a proper resident of that country. So you should be only taking the court summons, if at all, if they have been addressed to that. If they have been served in other means like emails, SMS, and so on, there is actually a way to deal it. Probably it could be something that they are actually trying to force upon serving. Yeah, we will actually come to that at a later session. But in this session, we will be only pointing to the ones which are actually sent out through post. Why we actually stress on this thing is the jurisdiction is a very key point. Typically, for all the cases abroad, we call it as domicile. Domicile is actually the place where you are residing, which holds the jurisdiction to actually trial or hear your legal litigation. And our recommendation is please don't be omnipresent, in the sense, don't take a notice from some X place in India, some Y place in India, because you have resided there like for 10 days, and after that you move to your parents' house and so on. They all does not form your jurisdiction. And the second concern is about renewals, whether renewal of your passport, whether renewal of your visa, and so on. Typically, civil cases are not the ones which are actually like so important for any country criminal record. So they will not be bothered much about the civil cases. And we have even gone through passport renewal forms of Indian Passport Act. It does not really bother about civil case proceedings, unless this quasi civil case proceedings has actually led to a non-bailable warrants. In the sense, if at all, if there has been a maintenance case, and if the maintenance has been like ordered and we did not comply with that order, and it has actually resulted in an NBW, we can actually try to, with our proper representation, resolve the NBW, rather than getting it to such a stage only for a civil case. And if you ask for what could be the exact course of action, it actually depends mostly on the personal circumstances. So we need to know at least some details about how the cases has actually uh, evolved, or the situation has actually come to this stage. And based upon that, the NRI cell from MyNation would actually help you plan better or prepare for a better strategy to face these things. Then comes the last one. Okay, there has been some particular civil case already on me, and the summon or the notice has been properly sent either on my email, or I received it at the exact address where I'm staying abroad, outside of India. So now, what's my stay? Should I actually go immediately? Should I be there by the next hearing date? Would that not impact my presence, physical presence over here for my like work or other commitments, whatever you have in the country outside India? So the representation of civil litigation can always be done through a power of attorney. Your power of attorney can represent you on your behalf. For this, it has been clearly mentioned in the civil rules circular. So this is what I'm actually sharing. There has been a recent citation in the case of Ruhina Khan and another. This is from Andhra Pradesh High Court from Honorable Justice P. Sanjay Kumar, where he has actually cleared up why Rule 32 and 33 are like quite essential for this thing. And if at all, if you are complying with proper Rule 32 and 33, you can have somebody representing you who will actually have the power through a power of attorney, and they can represent your civil litigations in India. Your physical presence in India is not required for those civil cases. It actually differs for states like Delhi and so on. We are actually only going through it on a very high level, but I would actually say this is by law. In the sense, the civil rules circular mentions that Rule 32 and 33 has to be respected, and your civil litigations can be represented by your power of attorney person or agent, what we call. And now your question might be, okay, how can I actually give a power of attorney because I have been already outside the country? Your power of attorney and all those things can be actually signed through your embassy in whichever country you are actually staying. Embassies has got proper formats for this thing, so you can actually approach the embassy, fill it up, and send them by post to India. I have actually shared on the other side the exact civil rules circular, so you can go through these two paragraphs and you will understand much clear. And also on the citation, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kumar sir has actually quite clearly clarified they should be respected in all possible ways. Okay, now coming to the criminal case hassles. So with the civil case, yeah, we have actually discussed how to represent ourselves, how to actually get like to that state, if at all, if the notice and something is not served at a proper address, because it's not your jurisdiction, you don't know about the case, and yeah, it's either like because you are not aware of the case, you can't actually represent in the case. Now coming to the criminal case hassles. Once an FIR is actually filed, so here is the big half-baked laws of India coming in picture. Why I call them so is any IPC section related offense is actually considered as an offense against the state. And CRPC chapter 1 says any offense against the state, if at all, if there is anyone who is actually complaining about that and who want to go through the complete prosecution to actually prove this complaint is actually true, it has to be taken as an FIR. So FIR has to be registered if a person is actually coming up with a complaint which can be considered as an offense against the state, and she need not provide any evidence or much of the details at that time of a complaint. She or he would only need to confirm that they are actually fully confident and they are willing to go through the complete prosecution to prove the case. So once an FIR is registered based upon this fact, yeah, the FIR content could actually lead to any sections in there. These sections are not framing of charges. As you can see in a criminal trial process, there are like multiple stages, and there is at a later point of stage, there will be the process which will actually apply the proper sections. As of now, on the FIR, whatever the sections are mostly depending upon the content. Do we have any questions, Rago?
Yes, do you want to take them right now?
Or can I actually just finish this slide and I will take them?
Sure.
Okay. So that's why FIR gets registered on us in a different country. To be honest, if at all, if it has been like a 10-year long marriage and in the 10 years, almost like 10 years were spent abroad, she actually leaving to India after 10 years, going there and like filing an FIR does not have any incident to be honestly under their jurisdiction, but they still take it because yeah, they are not like pretty much sure of all the contents of all the incidents that has happened. She is coming to the SHO saying that I feel like there has been an offense committed against the state here. It's not her, it's against the state here, and I am ready to actually go through the prosecution to prove that. SHO will actually have to take the case according to CRPC, and they take. I'm not trying to keep all the SHOs in bad books all the time, but yeah, we know the world is quite a crooked place. So there are a lot of persons who always have their own self motives, and the motivation most of the time is actually like corruption or something like a personal interest and so on. So NRIs are definitely like a very soft targets because for them, a lot of details once a criminal case comes in will be like a major concern for them. Everything will could go for a toss if at all, if they don't properly tackle these things in time. So what could be their normal fears? The second thing is like when a 41 notice is issued, like CRPC 41A is actually for asking for arrest or cooperating with the investigation. So once that notice is issued, then yeah, the person actually residing outside India would be concerned. What should be my next step? should I actually immediately go now? If I go now, will I be allowed to come out? Or if at all, if I go, will I be immediately taken into detention center the moment I actually land in India, like at the port of entry? Because I hear some stories of my friends or somebody else on the internet or Google that, yeah, they have been like simply taken at the port of entry. Why that happens, they might not be clear. So this fear of arrest and unfair detention, like unfair detention in the sense they're being detained from a completely remote place, in the sense if they have their case in Delhi and they land in Mumbai, but they are still detained, and they will be like shocked, oh, why did this happen? Coming to the next one is, okay, if they actually ignore these things and still sit in the country where they are residing, then they might actually keep getting notices from the Passport Authority of India asking for enough clarity on the cases, or threatening to cancel their passports. And if the passport is cancelled, it could actually cause to deportation, because yeah, with invalid passport, you can't stay in a different country. And the other fear is, oh, because an FIR is already registered, I'm actually alleged accused. You are not proven. You are simply alleged accused as of now. But even for an alleged accused, there are some extradition treaties with few countries where those countries are trying to impress India much more than really required. And these countries could actually be in a treaty with India saying that, oh, the moment you ask someone, we can actually arrange it for you. So if at all, if you're unfortunately living in such a country, then yeah, it's again another problem. Like just because that FIR is there on your name, no trial might have actually begun, no investigation might have been done. We all know like how much of that prima facie investigation or the content review will actually happen from a FIR case and so on. So this could lead to a forced travel to India. And because it's a forced travel, yeah, there can be an unfair negotiation once you are actually in India. And if you don't meet to their demands, then they can actually threaten you that we will not allow you to leave the country. We can arrest you. And if there is an arrest, probably it could actually hinder all of your career opportunities and so on. And what other concerns majorly are coming to, like, if at all, if they don't really go and participate in the investigation and so on, physically be present, they might be actually sending letters, emails and everything, like they could be sharing whatever their version of the story is. But still, if at all, if their physical presence is not available to the IO investigation officer, he could still be treating this as something, what the normal term that they use is actually like absconding. So you are still like not properly cooperating with the investigation, is what the IO can feel. And that could actually like have him use of all his powers related to making you actually like get to the country by forcing all these things. So on the renewals, typically the major concerns are, if at all, if your passport is almost about to expire within the next 6 months, and if you don't actually go to India, will I be able to renew it? If I actually fill the renewal form, in the renewal form, you will be asked for details like, are there any criminal proceedings against you in India? If you answer yes, what would happen? If you answer no, if they get to know, it's actually like misinformation. So that could have its own penalty. Next one is visa renewal. When you try to renew your visa in the country that you are residing, even they are worried about any criminal proceedings in that country or any other country in the world. So if you mention that information, they are literally like not having full clarity what's a 498A, how easy it is actually to actually file a case. Most of the times, the police are 100% sure that this case would not go through the complete trial. It might be actually settled in between after 2 years or 3 years down the lane. So yeah, why don't we take whatever she actually writes in? And such an FIR is also a very hindrance for your visa renewal. The last one is, if at all, if that's like for major applications like a permanent residency or taking a citizenship, yeah, at these points, any criminal record, any remark on the criminal history is actually considered really serious. So that will, those type of things are also hindered a lot. So how to tackle them actually? Yeah, Raghav, I can actually take the questions now.
Yeah, so we have one question on YouTube. Person contacted NCW and NCW is contacting him through the
Hello, Raghu. Sorry, you are breaking.
hello, am I audible right now? So he's from Gulf country and NCW is contacting him through Indian embassy. Should he be afraid?
No, actually, no need to be afraid. Through Indian Embassy normally asks for clarity, like, oh, we have actually received so and so complaint on you, and we actually like want to have some clarity from your side. So you will be normally given like 2 weeks of time. You can actually approach your lawyer or someone who is actually having enough legal expertise, and they can, because this one we will only answer to what the allegation is on you. We will not try to give the complete story of what happened in your marital life. You have to be very careful about what you answer to NCW or to the Indian embassy. You can even deny. You can simply say, none of this has happened, and I actually deny complete allegations against me. Even that simple answer is also fine.
Okay, just a follow up on that. So he claims that he has responded to the Indian embassy. They forwarded the replies to NCW, but his wife is blackmailing him, asking him to agree to her demands and conditions. So what can he do?
No, we don't actually heed to anyone's blackmail things. Probably, if he can actually have all of them recorded, he can actually use them to say that this emotional blackmailing or sort of blackmail has actually happened to him. It's a criminal offense to blackmail anyone for these things. They can,
Okay.
if their only blackmail is that they want to escalate the situation, they want to actually go and complain it in police station and so on. Until and unless he has all of his facts like with proper proofs, he don't need to worry at all. And even if at all, if it's really getting escalated just because he's not accepting to their demands, he should actually like probably reach out to our NRI cell, and we will able to like at least give him a proper strategy on how to face this.
The next question is by Sharan Shetty. What happens if summons are not received in civil or domestic violence cases abroad?
Sorry, in the sense they haven't received any notice is what he's asking.
Yes.
Yeah, if the notice is not served to you, at least the law says that we don't know about it, we are not aware of it, so no coercive orders will be against us. Even an ex parte order happens, you can always set it aside whenever you get to know. Most often, at least like if at all, if we have genuine justice, then they will be compelling for a proper notice, because end of the day, these civil cases will be mostly trying to drain you some money and give them as maintenance to them, even though they can actually maintain themselves in a really good way. We don't get into that point, but yeah, because this is something that you need to shell out from your pocket. If even an ex parte order is done because you don't know that, it is as good as like a white paper. So most of the time they will compel for a proper notice for you to be given.
Okay. Yeah. The next question is about passport renewal. Should we disclose our cases which are in another state and not in local police station? Will we get an adverse report?
No, actually, for passport, it's a central, so it has access across all the states. If I am you, I would normally mention whatever criminal proceedings are. But my only flag is, if at all, if it is just at an FIR complaint stage, I would not be bothered. If at all, if it has been already available on the e-courts and so on, like if at all, if a charge sheet has been filed, or if at all, if you or someone has actually taken a bail, in that case, disclosing this is actually good enough, because there were cases where we have come across a passport has been issued, and after that they got to know that there is a misinformation, so the passport has been actually cancelled. If I am you, my suggestion, like my take would be to disclose them in the right way it's possible. Like I will actually exactly give what's the stage of the case, and whatever the demerits that the case has.
So last question for now. Maybe we'll get more questions as we go on. It is by Sagar Mohanty. I was illegally arrested without a 41A notice and remanded of 5 days of judicial custody, but later withdrawn the 498 package. So will it affect my career and PR visa processing? Please help.
It depends upon those countries where he is actually trying to apply for the PR process. But mm, I think, yeah, we have to actually take it on the in an offline call, because this one needs much more detail, and I don't want that detail to be collected now.
Sure, Ramesh, you can move forward.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Raghav. Then, so with the criminal case, the biggest legal terrorism that actually happened and also still happening is the issue of whether you call red corner notice, blue corner notice, or lookout circulars. So we will actually get into those details much more in the next slides. So this has been the worst thing, or a proper blow, because with these things, most of his freedom will be curtailed. Travel is also curtailed between even different international borders. It need not be through India, even through any international borders also. With any of these notices, it will be curtailed. And sometimes these notices will actually also lead to arrests in their own home countries, wherever they are outside India. I just want to keep this slide because, yeah, even media is trying to do its part of just supporting one particular people, even though the whole world knows that there has been abuse beyond acceptance in this particular 498A, but still the media does not want to actually stand neutral on this thing or on the right side, but it is still on the like just building up some emotional stories with no details, proper no covering of quite finer details, but still just publishing articles which can be much more damaging the personal. So you can actually see there has been this article even in 2019 January, where it clearly mentions that 33 NRIs passports has been cancelled. We are not sure how many of them are genuine, ungenuine. I would actually consider, at least from my research, 80% of the time all the complaints are actually complete fake. So yeah, we will just rely upon the acquittal rate from all the 498 and DVs what we have found. If at all, if a person is acquitted, then for us it's actually a fake complaint, as good as a fake complaint, because unnecessarily they have been tortured for years to just prove innocence. And there is a question in a parliament which asked, like, why are you not taking much more serious measures for 498A? Just because of the marriage, why are you not actually just trying to treat the husband as if he's one of the most notorious criminal in the world? And the parliament has even come up saying that, yeah, there has been even sometimes red corner notices issued, and they have even given the names of them. I just stricken off because I don't want to disclose that, but yeah, this is available on the internet. Even the parliament is actually quite not into a very clear investigation into the details. See, we are not trying to protect anyone who might have done like a illegal act. We are not trying to protect them, but from most of the time, whatever our observation is, near to 80% of the people are actually being tortured beyond acceptance. It is actually inhuman in nature what is actually happening, and media is actually having their chunk out of it. Okay, so our major items are red corner notice, blue corner notice, and the LOC. So for the red corner notice, yes, it was issued in the past, even in 498 cases. So what's a red corner notice? Typically, it is actually one of the agency requesting for a location or the arrest of a person, whoever is wanted by a judicial a jurisdiction of an international tribunal. So the moment RCN is actually issued, it is a responsibility of all the countries, of all 186 countries who are has actually participated into the Interpolice, international police, Interpol, to keep an eye on this person, stop his movements from international borders, and sometimes even to actually like restrict his movement within the nation itself. Like if he is actually staying in some other country, then he could be arrested in that country itself, and then from there he will be extradited to India. In the judgment of Rajesh Sharma versus the state of Uttar Pradesh in Honorable Supreme Court, it has cleared out that you should not issue RCN in a routine matter. So 498s are not those dreadful crimes against the state. To be honest, it's actually a bedroom litigation, but I don't really understand. It has been treated by most of the people. We did not fight enough to actually change these laws. So even today, it has been to such an extent that it is considered as a offense against the state. And because of that, yeah, there has been earlier red corner notices issued, but now after this judgment, it has been completely stopped. So there are no more red corner notices in 498s, just 498. Probably they can actually make it more complex with many other sections, but as of now, 498 does not hold a red corner notice. Then comes the next big thing. That's the reason I have actually completely striken off red corner notice, because now red corner notices are not being issued in the matrimonial disputes unless there are like grave injuries or yeah death involved in that litigation. And coming to blue corner notice, yeah, it's mostly about just informing. There will be no arrest or there will be no restriction for him through international borders. So he can go from a country A to B, not through India necessarily, but yeah, that movement will also be not restricted, but at least they will actually keep on checking, oh, why did he move from this country to that country, what he's doing. So there will be a check on you or on the person or on the subject that they are actually interested in. So 498 cases where they have tried to escalate to an RCN after this judgment, it has been very clear that they might actually publish a blue corner notice, but they would definitely not do an RCN. And even for the blue corner notice, unless the country which is actually participating is convinced that in this particular case it is really required, they don't accept that. So they raise an application, but that application could be rejected by all the 185 remaining nations. It will be a shame to India, but still, yeah, this has been happening much more. And details about that you can actually see in these links. I have actually shared all the links in one of the page at the end of this presentation. We'll go through that at the end. So mostly 498 is not actually having either a threat from red corner notice or blue corner notice as of now. But the other bigger thing which is actually happening almost with every 498 case where the person or the husband lives abroad is the lookout circular. So what is this lookout circular? This is actually the circular letter used by the authorities to check whether a person traveling is wanted by the police. It can be an entry into the nation or it can be an exit from the nation, like leaving India. So where is it done? It is all done at Indian international airports or seaports. So whether you're going by a ferry, cruise, or an airplane at the international airport, you have to clear the immigration. And if there is an LOC issued on you, it actually comes up on the system, because whenever the immigration officer scans your passport, actually like there will be few details coming out about you, like what was your last travels, whether there is anything related to you were wanted by some agencies and so on. So one of that is, if at all, if LOC is issued, then it will say, oh, this particular person is actually wanted by one of the agency here, who is, it could be from different departments. It could be like a financial fraud, it could be enforcement directorate, or it could be the SHO, like the criminal law and order. So for LOC, there is actually a proper proforma in which it has to be asked or requested. And this proforma typically needs like 4 to 5 identification parameters. Because of like not too much of information, most of the time it caused inconvenience even to the persons who are actually not supposed to be issued with an LOC, like just because their name matched, just because their date of birth matched, and so on. And because of all these things, there has been some basic guidelines that are actually published by Ministry of Home Affairs for this. Like to be like the request has to be made in a proper format which is prescribed, and it must invariably have the approval order from an officer level rank. So all the rank of the officers, whoever has to actually approve the request, has been mentioned in 8B of this official memorandum. I have actually given the link. This is available on the internet, so you can quickly go through that. And the OA is the originating agency, in the sense whoever actually wants the LOC to be issued must mention minimum 3 identity parameters other than the name of the person. Typically, it has been name, sex, and I think they have excluded those details. Apart from that, you need to mention minimum 3 other details. And the guideline says LOC is valid for 1 year, and it could be renewed within that term of 1 year by the originating agency if it is still required. So is LOC on only 498? No, we have LOC on most of our celebrities. Anyway, they are celebrity because they were actually known for their public presence. You can see a lot of people over here. But I still feel the guy who actually has been on the top of the list is a guy who has got a 498A. You'll be surprised. There is one list which is actually disclosed by the CID department of the state of Andhra Pradesh, where there are around 220 LOC. Out of them, 212, literally just excluding 8, all of them are 498 related. So I don't know whether the whole state is just working to reduce the crime on 498 or what, but yeah, it has been really, like with these statistics, like near to 90% odd or only for 498 related cases.
A follow-up question on this. At what stage during the trial?
Sorry, Raghu, can you repeat?
At what stage is the lookout circular issued? At the
Yeah, we'll actually
investigation?
cover that. Yeah, we will cover that in the presentation.
Sure.
So yeah, now that we are anyway focusing, like because LOC, as I said, out of 220 available in one of the states of southern part of India, near to 92% of them are only on 498 related cases. So this is absolute abuse. It has been abused from the start, because even in the red corner notices, there has been some IGPs of that state who has been clearly pointed out in this media and so on, that he has been using even these like RCNs for his own personal interests and so on, because that state is the one which has almost issued near to 3,000 requests for red corner notice. So the abuse is literally beyond acceptance, but still it's happening because there is no proper enforcement, or I would say not enough fight has happened to actually stop it. So we will actually check what's this LOC, like what is the act, what does it actually mean, on whom they can actually publish this or issue this LOC, and if at all, if there has been a wrong LOC issued on you, how to fight it off, will they be penalized for that, and so on. So typically, we got this act in 1979. The act is actually like the ministry's first letter, which happened to be drafted in 78, but by the time it has actually become the act, it is 1979. And there has been just minor changes. This is mostly initially for all the criminal related activity, like to keep a track on their movement in and out of the country. But in 2000, there has been like furthermore modifications done to this. And in 2010, we have a proper amendment done where it has actually re-clarified a lot of items on whom are we actually filing these things, what is the recourse to immediately go to an LOC. Will an IO in all the cases, the moment they say where is he, or one of the alleged accused is outside the country, can he simply issue an LOC, and so on. So in this particular official memorandum 25016 31/2010, which is issued immediately on the date of 27th of October, they have actually clarified lot many things. We'll go through that one, and after that there were like very minor amendments. The amendments in like what are exceptional cases, in the sense like they have mentioned only in these cases you need to go for LOC, but there is always like one gray area where they say in the case of exceptional conditions you can actually issue LOC. What are exceptional conditions? Oh, God knows. So this is how we actually build our half-baked laws, and that's the reason exceptional cases has been clarified a bit more in 2017, and that has been actually added to the content in 2018. And there is one more amendment in 2018 itself where they have added serious fraud investigation officer also to the list of rank of officers who can seek for an LOC of the accused or of the people that he wants. So these are the typical LOCs which are available on the internet. I just redacted the faces. But LOC is not only for the people who are actually like alleged accused, but it could also be on the people who are missing and so on. Okay, so this is the document which is mostly available and which has actually clarified when it can be issued, where it can be issued, and how the approval process will be, and so on. So this actually has come because one of the person has actually filed a writ petition in the case of an LOC where it has been issued by NCW. So the Honorable High Court of Delhi clearly clarified NCW is granted with some powers for a temporary time limit of a civil court, not of a criminal court. And the next point is only criminal courts or criminal courts in the case of law enforcement only can issue LOC. LOC can't be issued by a criminal court just because he did not actually appear on the very first date of hearing. First date of hearing, if like after the summons, if he did not actually appear, then it will be a bailable or a non-bailable warrant, but that cannot be immediately an LOC. LOC will be like if he is further not cooperating the trial process, then enforcement wise they can actually go for LOC. So this will be through the court process. So here the originating agency would be the court. So NCWs can only seek requests, like they can actually send the request to originating agencies which have the power to seek for an LOC. We'll actually come to that, but as of now, it's very clear NCW then themselves can actually not issue an LOC, nor can make a request also to the Bureau of Immigration for an LOC. They are not the authorized party. And in another writ petition, the Honorable High Court of Delhi has actually clarified these 4 questions. So what are those questions? The first one is, what are the category of cases in which investigating agency can seek recourse for LOC and under what circumstances? So like the IO himself is actually asking for more clarity. In this case, can I go for an LOC or not? So in this one, the court has actually clarified that the recourse to LOC can be taken by the IO in cognizable offenses. At the moment it's a cognizable offense under IPC, they can take a recourse, but the condition is where the accused was deliberately evading arrest. In the sense, he is actually not available for cooperation with the investigation at all, or not appearing in the trial court despite NBWs, and other coercive measures were already taken, and there was likelihood of the accused leaving the country also. In the sense, if there has been an instance where when the FIR is registered, the person is already inside the country, but before the police or IO could actually arrest him, if he felt like, okay, they might be leaving the country, then also they can actually ask for an LOC to be issued. We'll actually check the process of how this issue happens, but yeah, for him, that can also be a recourse for seeking for an LOC. They do mistakes a lot of the times. That's the reason the writ of mandamus is there, because for them, they feel like everything is important or everyone is actually a criminal who is as bad as the worst criminal in the world. But again, we have our own merits, like whether there has been an absolute abuse of power or not. So what procedure is required to be followed by the investigating agency before opening a LOC? Like, is there a proper procedure, or he simply writes a letter and send it to the Bureau of Immigration and then that's it, is an LOC issued? No, it's actually not like that. The IO shall make a written request for LOC to the officer notified by the circular of Ministry of Home Affairs, giving the details and reasons for seeking LOC. We'll go through the pro forma, then we'll understand like what details are actually being required and also the approval process. The competent officer alone shall give directions. It's not every IO. Actually, there is a particular designated rank officers who can actually approve this request. So this comes the most interested question. Yeah, we know somehow FIR can be registered because it's some person felt that it is an offense against the state, and FIR is already registered. And the moment FIR is registered, they want the person physically in India, just cooperating with the investigation, doing nothing. And we know how fast the investigation will be. Sometimes it has taken actually decades, not even years. Because of such a highest pace of investigation, if we actually are physically present over there, then yeah, it's actually a loss of a lot of time, and nobody is really bothered about compensating any of it. Unfortunately, even law does not have any of it. So the first thing is we will actually see, oh, how can actually be like if at all, if an LOC is opened, what's the remedy that is available, saying that okay, because of this I actually can't be, and please suspend this LOCs because I want to travel either out of the country or I want to come into the country and cooperate, but it will be just like for whatever is required, I will not stay there forever. So the person against whom LOC is issued is actually expected to join investigation by appearing before IO, or should surrender before the court concerned, or should satisfy the court that LOC was wrongly issued against him. So if we can actually convince the court that there is no big threat that he will completely evade arrest, or he will completely escape from the trial process, or he will not cooperate with the trial process, we can actually get the LOC suspended, or most of the times it can be cancelled too. So because LOC, if the originating agency is the investigation officer, his need of LOC is only for the investigation duration. Investigation is completed when they actually file the charge sheet. So he may also approach the officer who ordered issuance of LOC and explain that LOC was wrongly issued against him. This most often normally does not happen because, yeah, the IOs are very clear, like on whom they are actually seeking for an LOC. LOC can be withdrawn by the authority that issued. So if IO, after filing charge sheet, if he is good enough, he would himself ask for withdrawal, because now that the investigation is complete, the trail is pending, but the investigation is complete. So he asked only for the part of investigation. So he can actually ask for the withdrawal if he is really good enough, but it does not happen normally. In that cases, yeah, we can actually approach the trial court or the high court asking for the cancellation of LOC. So the last one is, what is the role of the concerned court when such a case is brought before it, and under what circumstances the subordinate courts can intervene? LOC is typically a coercive measure to make a person surrender to the investigation agency or a court of law, because they want the pending process to be completed. He's already not convicted. He's not wanted for conviction. It's a pending trial where they want to finish it within time. And if at all, if we are actually not available, and if they feel like, yeah, this is the only way that the subject can be brought in to participate in trial, this could be issued. But yeah, whenever this happens, we can reach out to the court, and the subordinate court's jurisdiction in affirming or canceling LOC is also like similar to the jurisdiction of cancellation of NBWs. Apart from this, it actually asked for other like it, it has re-emphasized the need of all the other things. One of that is a minimum of 3 identifying parameters apart from name, sex, and nationality. So you can't simply name some first name and then a male and a nationality and say, okay, can you issue an LOC on that? Because this has caused inconvenience to a lot of other persons with whom those three details has actually matched. In that case, yeah, LOC will not be actually issued now. And the legal liability, like if at all because of LOC information LOC, if we have actually suffered, like the IO could have actually asked for a withdrawal of LOC for some reason if the system is actually not updated, and whenever we actually try to leave the country, if the immigration authority stops us and will not allow, or when we actually enter into the country, if at all if he did not um, allow us into the country and LOC has caused us the problem. Unfortunately, the legal liability is still on the IO. So if we have to approach court for our inconvenience that has happened and so on, we can't actually sue anything onto the immigration officer, but it has to be the legal liable party. Here it is the originating agency. We'll see exactly what is originating agency. Is it IO or is it the person who has actually signed the approval order, like a SP rank officer or a DCP? And then coming to LOC, as we discussed earlier, it's already for all cognizable offenses. And in case of no cognizable offense, still originating agency can request for a LOC to be issued, but that will never be to detain the subject, but it will be only to inform. Recently, we have seen a case where there is only DV, like Protection of Women under Domestic Violence Act 2005, and the protection officer has actually sought the permission of the SP to open an LOC. And these LOCs will only be to inform their entry or exit, because that does not actually fall under IPC. And yeah, it is not considered as a cognizable offense. Typically it is valid for 1 year, but this 1 year limit is actually not applicable for ban entry, in the sense they are not allowed into the country. Those are types of LOCs. And if it is a loss of passport LOC or impound passports or LOCs that are actually issued by the courts. Yeah, so someone was asking, like, when is an LOC issued after an FIR is actually filed? To be honest, if at all, if the request is actually made by the investigation officer, LOC can be opened the very same day when FIR is registered. So when, yeah, the court says when there is actually like a threat that the subject can actually move away from the country. To be honest, they need not know whether he is in the country or outside the country, but that could be the reason, and they can still open an LOC. So whenever IO feels the need, yeah, the need in my things happens to be mostly mentioned as here. And it could be when the deliberately evading arrest. So if they have actually enough times tried to notify him that he is wanted in an investigation by emails or by phone calls or by warrants and so on, summons, if it did not still happen, yeah, that is actually one of the genuine case when they can actually go for issuing an LOC. The likelihood of leaving the country, to be honest, this does not ask for the clarity that the person is already in the country. So if FIR is registered today morning, today evening, there can be a request for issuing of an LOC saying that the person will leave the country, but the person by then might have been already for a like year time outside the country. Still, uh, with the details, they would not actually check those things. It could be accepted and an LOC can be issued on the very same day. So how does it actually happen? Yeah, the investigation officer sends a request related to LOC on the proforma, whatever is mentioned. We'll actually go through that in the next slide. So he fills in all the details and sends it to the SP rank officer. So the ranks are available in the 8B of this office memo to those officers. And yeah, the officer would actually approve that, and he will actually send it to the Deputy Director, Bureau of Immigration. So both these parties are the originating agency. So whenever we have to make a writ, we have to make both of them as the parties. And they should actually disclose whatever the request, the proforma sheet that they have mentioned. Uh, like, yeah, we will see how to actually get whatever the proforma that they have filled to issue an LOC on a subject. So once the Bureau of Immigration receives the request, which is approved by the SP rank officer or the rank officers which are mentioned in 8B, they can actually issue the LOC, which is like just updating a system, and all the immigration officers will be then seeing an LOC whenever they scan the passport. So yeah, they have got a particular steps to actually do based upon whatever is filled in the proforma. So when can an LOC be issued? Yeah, as we said, like when there is a deliberate need or likelihood of leaving the country. Who can issue it? An IO would request that to an SP or DCP. SP or DCP approves the request, and post approval, they will actually send it to the Bureau of Immigration to open it so that it is available at all the immigration ports. Now the question comes, why do they actually do it? Typically, the accused can't leave the country and is forced to negotiate or for a ransom. So in these cases, like in a typical 498 case where it is just a matrimonial dispute between a man and a woman, why is an LOC sort of thing really required? And anyway, the whole trial process is not going to be completed within a fortnight or within a month. It is mostly because this would actually create a high amount of pressure on the subject so that he will be forced to negotiate. This is actually mostly like terrorizing the subject to negotiate the demands in the settlement. Typically, it's a matrimonial dispute. So, what all can it happen? The relation is already sore, so it will break. That's for sure. But yeah, the next big thing is, yeah, anyway, the relationship is broken now, so they want to take off the kids or they want to alienate the kids. And the second big thing will be seeking a ransom. And in this ransom, yeah, we have actually mostly found that almost every party will get their piece of cake. So that's one of the major reasons why LOCs are opened on issues between a man and a woman in a matrimonial dispute, assuming it is actually an offense against the state. The person is mostly legally terrorized, and because LOC sort of things are there, he is defamed as a criminal in the sense, if you already have enough things that your LOC has to be like consented for your travel also. When you go to an airport, right, yeah, it will be a lot of discomfort for you. So yeah, the immigration officer, there is a process that actually happens the moment immigration officer scans your passport. The person is caused immense mental torture. So this is more like a torture tactic so that you heed to their unfair demands, nothing more than that. To be honest, what does LOC does? LOC actually detains you and again brings them back to the same SHO. So if you are already on a regular bail or something like that, the SHO has got no further part to actually play in that, but they will still not withdraw your LOC because that will keep on causing you inconvenience. Okay, so how does the proforma for this thing actually look like? So this is the proforma that has been asked in that official memo. You need to mention all your personal particulars, like the IO need to mention the personal particulars of the subject, whoever is actually required, uh, sex, father's name, nationality, and the place of birth, date of birth, and also a few physical particulars. Apart from this, his passport number is also a very key detail. Passport number, place of issue, and country of issue is also required. And the other most important detail is for what criminal case. Whenever this is actually coming from a law enforcement agency, right? This is absolutely required. Like, what is the FIR number? What is the section of law he's asked for? Was the police station and their phone numbers? If their contact details are wrong, and if we have been actually intercepted at any immigration center, that's it. Because until and unless the interception is cleared off, we will not be allowed to actually either get into the country or away from the country. And the moment we are intercepted, it will be alerted to them, like they will be informed. And if they have given wrong details over here, or if that phone number happens to be not in use now, yeah, we have a different sort of struggle then. Yeah, but on the proforma, they mention, if at all, if the subject is intercepted, what need to be done. The first one is just inform the originator about his entry or exit. With this, we are not going to lose much. Yeah, somebody is keeping an eye on our travel. That's fine. The second thing is about the seizing of travel document. Now, this happens if at all, if the passport authority of India felt that this passport has to be actually impounded, then this LOC could be issued where they seize the travel document. The moment the passport is scanned, the originating agency is alerted, and on their consent, they will actually seize the travel document. The third one is ban entry, in the sense those particular persons will not be entered into allowed to entry into the country. The last one is the one which will be mostly used in the 498 cases. This one is to detain the subject and hand him over to the local police. Yeah, we have to actually be a bit cautious about this word local police, and then inform originating agency. So there are three steps that the immigration officer need to do in the case of mostly the LOCs that are raised for 498A. So how far is it valid? Most of the circular says that it is only valid for 1 year. Should we actually assume that after 1 year, if at all, if the LOC is not withdrawn or cancelled, is it safe to travel without much preparations? No, I would actually say, yeah, that's actually what it is said in the official memorandum. But what we have actually observed with many of the people who are in our group is even after an year, nothing actually like an LOC got lapsed, even though when there is no renewal, it has been confirmed by the IO that they did not ask for a renewal, but the immigration agency has actually intercepted them. On interception, what happens is typically they will ask for the consent from the SHO again, but if they don't provide the consent for 4 hours, yeah, your flight will actually leave and you are at a financial loss and many other loss too. So on this validity of 1 year, I would actually recommend to take it not too serious. Uh, so exactly what happens at the port? Let's suppose there is an LOC on a subject, and the subject knowingly or unknowingly want to actually come to India. He's abroad, let's suppose, and he actually stepped into the country. The originating agency has requested for any of these things. Let's suppose the originating agency has requested for the detain and hand over to local police. Mostly that's the option they will actually. So on entry into the country, the immigration officer would get LOC alert when he scans the passport. So till the time you actually reach to that passport immigration terminal, yeah, nothing actually happens, even though when you enter into the country. At the moment they actually scan your passport, the system says that there is an LOC. So the system is integrated in such a way that whatever the contact details the originating agency has mentioned, they will be immediately informed that this particular subject has been intercepted. When the subject is intercepted, it's normally expected, at least the immigration officer is not the person who really want to uh, create a lot of trouble to you. He will be waiting for what exact latest consent will come from the originating agency, because they normally know most of the times you might have a clarity about this particular LOC thing, and you could have got enough documents in your favor saying that you have to be consented to allow into the country or to leave the country. So till the time the originating agency responds, immigration officer would be simply holding you. They will be making you to wait in one of their cabins, and once the consent comes to leave, then yeah, either your entry or exit is done as simply as any other passenger. So the only torture for you in here is those hours of waiting, where after the originating agency is informed, till the time he actually gives a consent. This has to be done either by email mentioned in the contact detail or by the SMS on the phone that they have actually registered with the LOC proforma in the LOC proforma. Let's suppose they have actually asked for detain. The moment they asked for detain, this immigration officer would actually immediately inform the subject as a wanted to the local police. So the local police comes in and yeah, they will actually consider it as an arrest. They do the medical and they shift you to the detention centers. Let's suppose a subject who have like an FIR registered on him in Delhi has actually landed in Chennai. So in Chennai, when it is intercepted, when the originating agency is informed, the originating agency would actually say, yeah, he is actually required. Can you please detain him? So whatever is the police station comes under the local limits of the airport, they will be informed and they come and they take, and yeah, it would be similar to an arrest where they actually keep him in the detention center. Actually, the process wise, once this detain is asked, the local police will be detaining you, but they will be waiting for the actual OA to come and pick you up. So they have to do a handover. And for this handover, the time currently is 14 days of time. And it has got similar law somewhere saying that in exceptional conditions, it can be extended for another. Yeah, it keeps on extending like at least another 2 or 3 times. So till that point of time, this particular person is actually detained. This detention is actually a bit worse in the sense you will not be allowed to have it's more or less like arrest. So your mobile and everything will be snatched away from you, so you don't have even access to communicate it. So suddenly if you are actually traveling alone and this happened and you haven't actually informed it to any one of you, if the detention happens, yeah, you are out of communication, unfortunately. So I would say, yeah, don't actually try those foolish things to come in like that. Yeah, once OA takes the handover of the subject, then it is similar to they actually arresting in the case of 498. Normally what happens is within a day, they have to present you in front of the magistrate and either ask for custody, or yeah, you can actually get a regular bail on the same day and you can be out. But this detention on a local police, which is completely far away from the place of where the originating agency is located, right? That is one key point that all the people have to be actually like keeping a note of. If at all, if there is an LOC or apprehension of LOC, I would actually say it's always recommended you land in the same or the nearest city available to that. Oh, so we have been discussing about LOC so far, and it seems to be a bit of concerned area only. Then how can I actually check for if I have been issued with an LOC or not? Yeah, you can better contact your SHO. SHO is the first person who is actually with the complete information about an LOC, if it has been already issued or not, or is in the process, so on. You can also file an RTI to either SHO or to the Bureau of Immigration if you know that LOC is already like pre-existing and it's expected to be actually closed because the IO has confirmed that he has sent a withdrawal notice to BOI. The next thing is in the charge sheet, typically the IO would always mention whether an LOC is required or not. And you can also file a writ of mandamus in High Court if you know that the LOC is actually like not closed because last travel of yours has been a problem, even though they have been consented, but they have provided a consent after 4 hours after your flight has left or after you have actually landed, and then for 4 hours doing nothing, waiting in a cabin. So how can we remove or cancel an LOC? Typically, once you get an anticipatory bail, you can ask for temporary suspension of the LOC. When you are landing into the country, right, make sure you carry a hard copy of the bail that you have, because at least with this, even though they hand over, like the local police is, if at all, if it happens to be the same city, they will like ask the originating agency to come and take a handover of you because you already have a bail. They will not be doing any further things because already a person on bail on the same case can't be presented in front of the magistrate again. So in these case, the consent from the SHO has to be to leave. But even though if they did not actually leave, yeah, there is nothing much they do. They actually take handover and they have to leave. Then they can't produce you in front of the magistrate. LOC suspension. So you can, if at all, if you don't want even this hassle to happen, if you get an anticipatory bail, immediately after your anticipatory bail, it is better to file a writ in the High Court asking for a complete cancellation or suspension because you are willing to actually participate into the investigation, and it is actually like till the completion of a proper investigation or whatever is the bail condition, you will comply with them. In these cases, LOC will be normally suspended temporarily. If you are actually like lucky enough, there has been some orders in a few of the cases where it has been completely lifted up saying that now the LOC is really not required. if the charge sheet is filed and the LOC happened to be from the IO as the originating agency, you can always file for its cancellation, because after charge sheet is filed and you have cooperated with the investigation, then there is nothing much is required out of that LOC. The IO could be having 100 other things, so he did not actually file for a withdrawal of the LOC, but we can directly approach court and that will definitely cancel the LOC. So what do we actually recommend our friends who are in this thing? Yeah, like to book a flight, to land at or depart from the nearest international airport. It's applicable in both, like while into the country or getting out of the country. Make sure until the time the LOC is completely cancelled, always your international departure will be from the nearest airport. And LOC can be issued in a day. So if you are like in the country and get to know the day morning that there has been an FIR registered, immediately don't plan to leave the country from a different city and all those things. That's not recommended from our side, but yeah, if you have your own information, then it's a personal decision. And there has been some like somebody favoring can we do it through Nepal and any other routes. Even that's not actually recommended by all means. They are also come under international Indian immigration borders, Nepal especially. And if you are planning to leave, carry all the hard copy documents of the bail order, or if at all, if LOC is actually supposed to be cancelled from the court, but it is not yet done, because yeah, we know the system and we know how fast it could be actually reacting to the orders from the courts. And if you are leaving the country, yeah, it's better suggested that you reach to the airport 4 or 5 hours before and inform them about LOC. They will always allow you. Normally, they will only allow 3 hours before, but yeah, with these LOCs and all those things, yeah, you can actually get in much prior, so that there can be enough time between the interception and the consent coming from the originating agency. So I wish like the travel has to be so smooth, like you land and somebody has to be like waving you a welcome rather than an unwelcoming experience. So these are all the links that we have actually used in this session. So you can go through this slide. It has all of that information. And typically, yeah, what we have observed is the 498 curve is coming down. Might be it is being translated into DV, which is quasi criminal. So LOC in DV is rarely possible. It's not possible until some non-bailable warrants are out. At least with that hope, the LOC stories of 498 criminal case hassles like completely goes away. Yep. And any questions?
Yes, we have few questions. Uh, uh, LOC, does LOC apply to the person who has foreign passport
Yes.
but who is of Indian origin?
It does not really depend upon Indian origin, but LOC is equally applicable for Indian citizen and foreigners.
Okay. Uh, how to know there is a LOC? I believe this is covered, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Immigration will not reply to RTI. LOC being exempt organization.
No, there has been some judgments where yeah, that information has to be disclosed. Uh, at least from IA point of view, the LOC information has to be disclosed. So we will actually, just to convince the court, we have reached to multiple other parties, but all the other parties are not willing to share that information. But originating agency has the liability to share the information, and they are not doing it. This is mostly like typically they would actually share that information expecting it to be shared by the originating agency only. But when we file in the high courts or for a writ, or even RTI goes to the second appeal, it's better we have approached enough people, and there has been like quite an inconvenience. Still, they are not giving information. If the LOC has been
So,
from the courts, it has to be coming up in the certified copies. If it is from the IO or like from the SHO, it will be always mentioned on the charge sheet. If it is not also, we can actually get it through RTI. They have to inform it to the court.
okay. So Due to the recent Rupali Devi judgment, FIR can be made at any place. So within the moment, how do we know where to land the nearest airport?
I don't know. Most of the time, people know where their FIR is actually registered, right? So if at all, if the FIR is registered in Chennai, it's supposed to be like, yeah, picking up Chennai as the international, like clearing the immigration in Chennai. If at all, if yours is not in Chennai, if it is in Madura or somewhere Mysore. So for the Mysore, yeah, recommended is Bangalore. Why I'm actually stressing on this point is, when you were detained by the local police, the police who has to come, the originating agency, they can keep saying, oh, it is far away. It takes time because it goes by whatever the rules of transportation that are allowed for the police department. So if it happens to be more than 100 kilometers, they are not supposed to go on the same day, because there is a travel request that they need to raise with their boss, and their boss has to approve it, even though he approves like a car, private car, or a bus and all those things. So we don't want already to add further more hassles.
Okay, so as I was going through your talk, I had few queries. So you said that few countries were appeasing India and aggressively pursuing India. Is it correct?
Yeah, we have all of that information in this link, mea.government.in leta.htm. So this is all the extradition info. Each and every country, whatever the treaty they have exactly signed with India, it's a PDF attached with that country name. If you click on that link and then go to the country and open up the treaty, then you will get to know what treaty is actually signed between the countries, whether they will consider 498 or will not consider.
Okay, means is there any country which actually aggressively follows up? Like, do we have data on it, or it's
Actually, what I have is the neighboring countries like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and also Dubai. Dubai is also one of those countries which has extradition treaty even for the simplest of the cases. UAE, sorry,
okay?
United Arab
Uh,
Emirates.
uh, because this is a webinar on NRI issues, there is one common thing like if a person gets a divorce or a custody in a foreign country, but his wife returns to India and lodges counter cases, are the foreign court decrees valid in India?
No, first thing is the foreign court decrees for parental alienation is not valid because we are not yet part of Hague Communique. So Hague Convention asks for that, and yeah, like our earlier NCW or minister was quite smart enough to not participate Indian women, because from her calculation, uh, a Indian man marrying a foreign woman who can do that is much lesser compared to a Indian woman doing it to foreign husband. So she has very cleverly taken the decision not to be a part of Hague Convention, and so the children, if at all, if they were considered to be even alienated from the father or abducted from the foreign country by mother, that particular enforcement is not applicable in India. Yes, the country, like for example, if you consider Great Britain, they can uh, issue an order, even it can go to till the extent of a red corner notice, but within India she is always safe. No person or no courts will actually enforce her to return back to the country.
I have taken an anticipatory bail and I have been following up with my court procedures regularly. Can the LOC still be issued against me?
No, in that case, then it is actually something like a fraud happening. So we can actually file a writ. See, there will be hundreds of frauds that will be happening. So we can't stop it, but exactly on a like whatever has been prescribed by the official memorandum of Ministry of Home Affairs, no, it can't be done, because the court is not in need of you because you are participating in the trial process, and the trial has already started. So there is no investigation to be done by the IO.
One last query from my end is a power of attorney is applicable in civil cases. Will it also be extended to criminal cases?
No, no, power of attorney is not extendable. You can ask for absence, So you can file petitions so that you will not attend each and every hearing of the trial process, but one person, like your wakalat, your lawyer, with the wakalat nama or with those things, they can do few of the, like every 4 months you might be attending the trial, but not if at all if you are getting a trial every monthly, every a date in every month. So you can ask for an absence for like 3 months, because traveling to and forth from the foreign nation could not be something feasible financially and for many other reasons. In that case, yeah, you can always ask, like seek for absence, and it could be done for 3 or 4. And there will be some stages in the trial which could not be exempted. For those phases of the trial, you must be coming, even though it is within a gap of 1 week or 10.
Yeah, so we have, okay, LOC can also be cancelled on the direction of a district court to the OA, not necessary to go to the High Court as well, is one of the comments. Do you want to respond to it?
Yeah, that's what the act says. Official memorandum says exactly as for the NBW, whatever the powers a court has, similar powers, even in the case of LOC, the same criminal courts has. So we
Then,
need not go to exactly High Court all the time.
okay. Sharon Shetty has a query where can you register a divorce obtained outside after 498 as a foreign court? There is no bar divorce granted. Uh,
Sorry, I did not understand what he meant by registration. But if he is assuming that will foreign divorce be respected even in India, there are certain conditions. If at all, if it is not an ex parte, if she has actually consented but still she has got it, and whatever the conditions for divorce, if they are also valid conditions even in India, like cruelty and so on, yes, the divorce is 100% intact. uh, Else, India would actually not consider that as a divorce, even though it is divorce on a foreign soil.
so we'll end with this last question. So there is a quash stay on the criminal proceeding in a passport. What happens when there is a quash stay in passport renewal? So he wants to renew a passport, and there is a quash stay against the criminal proceeding. So he
Passports
wants to
would be
know.
renewed. See, if at all, if they are not renewing, then also we will actually file a writ for the High Court to direct the passport authority to renew it. With criminal cases, I haven't actually seen scenario where the passport renewal is actually denied. They will renew, but it will be renewed only for 1 year. So every 1 year you have to go for a renewal. And the second thing is, sometimes if at all, if the passport authority is not processing it within the timelines that is required, they can approach High Court with a writ petition asking the passport authority to be directed for the renewal. There has been a few scenarios where it has happened. So the High Court directed them properly to renew it for 1 year.
Uh, Thank you, Ramesh. Uh, I give back to the moderator to take it forward.
Thanks, Raghav.
Okay, thank you,
Hi,
Ramesh,
Vikas. I
for
hand it over to you.
wonderful presentation. And Dr. Vikas Singh and Raghav Tanaji for supporting today's webinar. Anyone who want to join, we will be available next week, same time, on same link. Everyone welcome to join. Anyone has any questions, you can visit mynation.net, join us, and we'll answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh ji. It's a very, very wonderful session and very knowledgeable session. And I would like to thank Rudy sir for organizing this webinar, and Raghav ji to taking the question. And we have to take end this session now. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Rudy sir, for organizing this.